Finally saw a bear. Hey guys! That's Poppy and Rupert, and I'm Steve, and we can't bear to miss an episode of the Tea and Trails podcast.
Thanks for the intro, Steve. All the way from Canada. See, I told you we were an international podcast, Eddie. Yeah, you need to pop over to YouTube, actually, because you see Steve's dogs, Poppy and Rupert, chase a bear. You heard me right. Chase a bear. And I was relieved to hear that they returned to Steve safe and sound. Welcome to episode 79 of the world famous and UK's number one trail running podcast. We've just had a little bit of a chat. There is some debate about that position now, but yeah, we have the words trails in our title, so I will take it. My name is Gareth Waits, and I am nursing a very sore rib cage. Sandbagging alert. Yes, a very sore rib cage.
My name is Eddie Sutton, and I raw-dogged it all the way from France to England.
What does Rawdogging mean?
More on that later. This week, we are joined by Chris Cope. Buckle up, ladies and gentlemen. Be prepared for a sensational interview. Not only super nice guy, type 1 diabetic, spine busting and beating. He makes his own gels and he lifts weights heavier than Gary. What a guy. Look forward to this interview. We have tales from the trails. We pop over to our Strava club. We share our weekly deets, and I have a very exciting listener's message directly sent to me for Gary. Hold on, folks. It's going to get bumpy.
Super cute. Oh my goodness, super curious.
Oh, we haven't had super curious for ages. What happened to that?
I just rotate them every now and again. Oh my goodness. Thank you to our Patreon partners who share some awesome discount codes with our patrons. We have Precision Fuel and Hydration, Vela Forte, Protein Rebel, Tiki Boo, Mountain Fuel, Outdoor Active, Silver Sweden, Active Route, The Centurion, Running Store, Sportshoes.com, Big Bobble Hats, X Miles, Bonside Farm Cottages, YouGoGo Projects, Hellfire Events, Red Bear Sports, the Alban app, Retainer Group, Cycle Protection, Summit Crazy, Baited Sports, Lumi, Activewear, Fenix Light UK, Bridgedale Socks, Nav4 and Ultra Trails 2. Extra shout out to Precision Fuel and Hydration and Protein Rebel. We use their products every month to help fuel, hydrate, and recover.
If you'd like to save some money, support the podcast and our partners, please consider it. You don't need to do it. You just need to have a little look about joining Patreon or join up a friend or a family member. We couldn't do this without you guys. Also, if you want to look like Gary in some Tea and Trails merch, you'll need to head to YouTube. Summit Crazy. Head to Summit Crazy where you can buy some awesome Tea and Trails merch.
Thank you to Precision Fuel and Hydration, X Miles, Fenix Light and Protein Rebel for sponsoring this week's show. Super grateful for your support. And don't forget to pop over to Precision Fuel and Hydration, book in with a sports scientist, read some case studies and use their handy fuel planner. I have redone it, Eddie, ahead of my Lakeland 100 attempt. I just wanted to make sure my numbers were correct. I really should book in with Emily, to go through my Lakeland 100 strategy. My initial tweak is to go for their salt caps instead of the sachets or their plinky plonks.
Do you know how much is in those capsules? I've got some, but I've never used them.
250, I think. So I'd be on
Have you ever
two.
tried to swallow them?
Yeah. Manchester Marathon, I used them. So
did
and
you?
That would, yes.
I find I get the choke back quite. If anything goes really deep, I don't know.
Don't make me laugh. Yeah, I was worried about that Manchester Marathon. If I could take it down,
take it in,
throw it.
Don't think about it, just swallow.
This is the worry, though. If you just get that kind of food fatigue and just anything going in your mouth makes you gag, then I'll be begging for those sachets. Maybe I'll pop some sachets in my drop bag just in case the wheels have fallen off before Daleman. We will see. Anyway, lots of awesome stuff over at precisionhydration.com. Do you think when they visualize us doing our little Precision Fuel and Hydration chat, they visualize throwing it and stuff like that?
Absolutely. They love it.
That's what they signed up for.
They said, keep it going. We love your organic content. So you can't get more farmyard and organic than taking a deep breath and swallowing it. If you're a patron, you get 15% off over at Sinful Hydration. Also, if you'd like to try it like Gary, you can get 15% off your first order with the code CAPSLOCK T24. Super simple, T24. Also, if you'd like to, oh my gosh, well, let's just say I haven't had my Protein Rebel collagen for 10 days. And let's say my nails are falling off. It's coming, Gary. New Protein Rebel customers, if you would like to try some collagen or some protein powder, you can enjoy that too with a code with a caps lock T15. 15% off there, guys. Link to all our sponsors. Gosh, all these sponsors can be found in an ever-increasing show notes. Bryn said, there's a lot of sponsors. I said, this is a big podcast now, and we are batting them off.
Fighting them off. Also, big news, breaking news. We have bubble hats just in time for England's summer, Scotland and Wales. Let's face it, it's not warm out there, Gary. It's not warm. Actually, it is bubble hat weather. I am roasting though. I'm doing my best.
You have got a fleece on as well. Your choice of outfit is questioned.
Yeah. I am burning up big time. If you pop over to YouTube, you can see I'm modelling a new bobble hat. Head over to our website, actually. Somewhat crazy. They did make these, but we are selling them over at teaandtrails.com.
Shall I go first? Because it's about 4 words. It was a big week in the Sutton household. Big, mega emotional week. I'm not going to go into the details because though we share lots on the podcast, there's also some things that people would understand that we have to keep a little bit of family life.
Yeah. Your emotions don't have to be our content. I always...
Yes, and I do share my emotions in the race very raw, but I actually don't think I can talk about this because it's a whole other podcast. So, but let's just say it was a mega week and I didn't actually even look, Gary. I've turned my Strava off because it's just, I can't look at other people running all these miles. I think it was about 18 miles of running, Gary. No strength work. I haven't replied to my strength coach. I've ghosted him. I don't know what to say. It's falling apart.
You can only put so much in your cup though, Eddie. My goodness me.
My cup was overflowing with things I didn't want it to overflow with. And so, but it's really important that you have that relationship with running. I feel that when other things in your life are bigger than you and running, you can step away without it's still it's there, but you need to step away and put it to one side and it will come back, but it's not the time. I needed energy elsewhere. And I do have a good relationship with running. I can do that. And I think it's healthy to sometimes actually do that and be like, can I actually step away and see life as it is? My HRV has gone up 30. Well, I don't even know what you'd call it. 30 points. 30 beats.
That's enormous. It's not just like a few, is it?
Enormous. And my resting heart rate is the lowest it's been by 13 beats.
So that would suggest you feel awesome. Do you feel awesome?
I feel terrible, but that's also because of lack of sleep. We are now in England, traveling the length of the country, 2 countries with 3 children, 2 dogs, 1 dog who is I didn't realize. I knew that Lindy was quite like a Velcro dog, like round the house, but she went into this nervous state of total.
Bless.
And so she had to sit on me for the whole journey. And she would fall asleep. She was like this sort of anxious cousin. She'd fall asleep for like 10 seconds. Then she'd wake up and go, oh my God, where are we? Where are you? What's happening? Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And we had to stay in a few hotel rooms. She would just be beyond herself. Like she wouldn't sleep. She kept coming on the bed. So for the last 3 or 4 mornings, 4:30 we've got up, Gary, 4:30 with the dogs. Because I've wanted everybody else to sleep. So I've taken them out running one of the runs. So I planned it's a good thing to do, but you also just need to be careful. So I put into Strava, plan the route, 6 miles, plan my route for me because we're staying in this industrial estate and I didn't even know how to get out of it. So that was brilliant because it gave me a 2K route to get out. And then it took me to these vineyards with tracks around it. And I thought, brilliant.
How does it do that? Will it pick up on heat maps?
Yeah. So it picks up the most used Strava and
I love it.
So I thought, this is great. I was following my map, love a bit of practice as well with a bit of not knowing where you are, following your map. It then took me into this darkest path I've ever seen into the woods. This is at 4:45 in the morning. I don't know where I am. Lindy put up a deer egged it off, and then woke up the local hunting yard of hunting dogs who went nuts. And I was like, oh my God, the hunters, the farmers are going to come out. I'm going to be shot. This is just a disaster.
Guns blazing. Whoa.
And I was going, Lindy, come back. Taki was just standing there going, oh my God, that idiot. Anyway, she did come back, and then I said, oh, sorry, I'm not going that way, Strava. The woods were like so dark, this closed path. I was like, no, there is definitely an axe murderer in there at 5 o'clock in the morning, ready to cut my head off. So I ignored the Strava map, came back and just ran up and down a track for a bit. But I tell you what, my dogs are not house trained, just generally trained. Even like taking them out of like into a service station and things, and they are just like, it's blown their mind basically.
Well, this is it, yeah.
Lindy.
From where they live to a service station.
From where they live. So like, we took them to a McDonald's. We got sent out of the McDonald's because
It's an English McDonald's or a French one?
It's a French one. She couldn't get over to us quick enough. And I said, oh, can I just order and then I'll sauté? And she was like, no, get out. I didn't even want a burger. €14 for a small pasta salad, Gary, with about 5 bits of pasta. And we had to sit on the side of the car park because we weren't allowed in with the dog. So that was a pretty low
Living
point.
the dream.
Living the dream. Anyway, traveling and training is hard with kids, dogs, and hot weather. So if you're doing it this summer, you're traversing the country, heavy flex, keep it going, get yourself a laundry bag so you can just pile in the laundry and then go to friends who the first thing they say is, here's the cake we made you, and have you got any laundry? I'll do it for you. Oh my God. So we're currently decompressing now in England, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I've been doing the last week. So I won't be shy telling you this. I read the Telegraph, Gary. I'm sorry if that upsets you, but are you disappointed? I thought you would be. Do you know why I read it? It's just because I find like the simplest newspaper to read.
I'm not judgy.
And I get a free subscription from my dad because you get like one and he just sends a free subscription. Anyway, so I was reading it. I was reading about this phenomenon, is that the right word? Called rawdogging.
Okay.
Not only do I love the word, I want that on a t-shirt. I want to call my 4th born child one day Rawdogger. Anyway, it's when you sit. Now, it starts with a flight, but I've taken it to the next level now. And I think we can put this into ultra running. TikTokers have been taking transatlantic flights, and you sit on the flight and you don't eat or drink. I'm not taking that bit into ultra running because that would be the saddest day ever. But they don't eat or drink for the whole flight, and they don't, for the purest version of rawdogging, you're not even allowed to look at the aeroplane when you see it flying across the Atlantic to follow it. You just have to sit in your chair and stare straight ahead.
Why would anybody want to do
It's meant
this?
to be like the ultimate dopamine detox. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to try this, but I'm going to try it my own way. So I turned off all my social media about a week ago now. Strava, Instagram. I've kept my Facebook on my laptop because it's important for our work, and that's it. And I do look at Strava because some of my athletes, I have to compare Strava training peaks, but I have turned mine off. So I'm not looking at it at all. I'm not looking at my phone. I've literally put my phone away apart from WhatsApp and email for work about a week ago. And I tell you what, and then we drove across the length of France and I read a book, Gary, because I'm not allowed to drive because I'm not fast enough. And apparently it's like driving Miss Daisy when I drive. So I read a book. I sat and I hit the children when they made too much noise. I threw Mentos at them at the back, and I read a book. And I have noticed it's almost like the noise in my brain has like turned, like I don't reach for my phone all the time. You know, you're bored, you reach for your phone, you know, you just flick it, you just look, I don't want my kids to do that. I'm really strict with my kids now. They don't have phones now. And I felt like I was being hypocritical, but I also felt that I was, my phone was controlling me. Even though I'm not even like big on social media, I don't really do anything on social media. I think I just pick it up. I just pick it up and then find myself going, oh God, why did I pick it up? What am I doing with it?
I like sometimes check an email and then I'll go to Facebook and then I'll check an email about like a minute later.
I need to focus. And as anybody knows who a certain woman of a certain age, our focus and our brains are not what they were. And I do not need that distraction. Anyway, so I turned it off about 5 days ago. I've already noticed, Gary, I hear more sitting outside. This morning when I got up with Lindy at 4:45, I sat outside and had a cup of tea. Actually, I had 4 cups of tea before anybody else got up. But I did loads more stuff, and I'm reading, and I just feel a bit free.
It always puzzles me that, say, if I go to the lake, usually the lakes, where we get no signal, and I love it.
I know. So
and
why
I
do
really
we do
enjoy
it?
So why do I turn it all
Why do we
on?
do it? So this is my version of raw dogging. Bryn is so bored of me going, come on, raw dog with me. Let's do this. But I'm going to keep it up all summer, and I am going to enjoy that the phone stays on the windowsill and that I'm present. Yeah. And I think when you do go through like big emotional upheaval and changes, actually, I think it saved me a bit in the last week, because I've just been like able to deal and sit and be with those emotions. So, but turning this, guys, you're going, what the hell? Why are you talking about this? Ultra running is all about being present and being able to be in your brain for a very long time without any distractions. And I noticed that in Northern Traverse. Like I needed music. I needed podcasts. I was fighting with myself, like through that second night as well. I was like, oh my God. And I need to switch that. Katie Scheid, like at Western State, said she didn't have anything. She just runs with herself the whole time, and she's really happy with
even training.
Herself. Yeah, in her training, she doesn't have anything. So she's the ultimate ultra raw dogger. So I need to get. This is obviously we're podcast guys. You guys don't do this bit about the not listening to podcasts. Okay, keep listening. But I do think like you should be able to go for a run without stimulation in your ears. You should be able to sit and I think you can almost call this training. You can transfer this to ultra running, of being able to go, oh, holy cow, I'm at mile 33 and I've got 70 more to do, and there's nothing but me and my voice, and being able to listen to that voice. So let's see if I can practice what I preach. And if you guys see me posting, like, share, subscribe, you'll know that I cracked.
Give it a week.
I cracked. Give it a week. 5 days ago. 5 days and counting. So, I mean, I think I went on like 4 runs last week, ticking over. Strength was non-existent. Sometimes we just have to take those downs. We always knew that this was going to happen, and that's why I haven't got anything till December. On my Garmin plan, it says like 22 weeks. You know, you can put in like your main event.
Yeah.
And I think it says 22 weeks. So I haven't got any fear yet, because I'm like, I could do loads in 2 weeks. 22 weeks. I got loads of time. Not much running to report, but I feel like almost maybe I've started a cult revolution now in the ultra world, that people are going to be running along.
As long as they don't
dogging.
turn podcasts off, we'll be okay.
No, but they can listen to them. They can listen to them other times, or they can be like, well, this run I listened to a podcast, and this shorter run, I'm just going to listen to myself.
I went for a run yesterday, and because it was raining, I didn't put my headphones on, because the rain just skips and turns the volume up and down. So I went out, and I was quite anxious, actually. How am I going to do an hour and 10 minutes, whatever it is, without any distractions? But yeah, I survived. It was okay.
You're starting your raw dogging journey. Bryn says I should stop using it as a verb and also stop talking about it, which is why I'm so lucky that I have my podcast husband that now I can bore with it. Yay! Right, come on then. Let's. Do you know you're going to tell us what happened? But your voice like is different. I can see the way you're moving is different. You sound like someone in pain.
If I breathe deep, that is it's not a good sensation at all. But yeah, this week was I typed this first sentence out. I thought, oh well, while this popped into my head, I'll type this down.
I saw it, and then I was like, you smug git.
Yeah, teacher's pet, because it was a real positive vibe ahead of Lakeland 100. I had no groin issues, which I've had in the past. I had no quad issues in previous years as I slowed down as a runner on that course. I felt like I was chasing a ghost. And after last year's run, everything was behind me as far as that's concerned. So I was going into this year's Lakeland 100. I was up and about, Eddie. I was up and about. It's crazy to predict anything for a 100-mile race. But anyway, I tripped up on Sunday and I bruised a rib. Worst case scenario, I've cracked a rib, because I do hear a little bit of clicking every now and again. I'm not too sure if that's just because...
It's like my knees, Gary.
Yeah, that's worst case scenario. I don't think it's a crack, because I'm pretty sure I'll probably have loads of GPs in my DMs, which that would be sensational. Actually, I'd be really appreciate that. But I would have thought if I'd cracked the rib, the pain would have been 11 out of 10. While it varies.
Yeah, but you're really tough, Gary. And
I
you
am
can
super tough.
We all know you can take loads of pain.
But yeah, getting a bit ahead of myself. The week until Sunday, at least, was awesome. 2 quality sessions, 10 times 2 minutes on the treadmill. Smashed it. Got the heart rate high, gasping for breath in the gym. And then I did this 40-minute uphill tempo session, which I've done previously. Yeah, another dripping mess. A bit more vert than last time when I did it. So yeah, big thumbs up. Super happy with that. 3 gyms. I was time pressed. Oh, I can't remember what day it was actually. But yeah, Chris Cope validated this workout, this week's guest, that I couldn't do the full body.
Lift heavy, lift massive, lift legs.
But it was all lower body. So yeah, if it's good enough, Chris, good enough for me. And then on Saturday, we had I think I mentioned we're going to have a little mini training camp.
Yeah,
on Saturday.
I love it.
Yeah, it was awesome. Saturday and Sunday in Grasmere, Youth Hustle, myself, another Gary, Robbo, Reese and Aaron. On Saturday, we did 13 Valleys route, the same as what I did last year. A brilliant day. But that technical terrain, my goodness me, my head was
Which bit
fried.
did you do? Remind me.
So we ran from Grasmere, a little bit of reverse Old County Tops route until you get to the Langdales. And then you run up through the Langdales, over the tops to Rossick Pike. Oh, like you don't really hit Rossick Pike, but you go to Angletarn, then down to Borrowdale and back on yourself to Grasmere. So 25 mile, about 5,600 feet of it. So a big day out. Aaron and myself, we're doing 13 Valleys, and everybody who wasn't doing 13 Valleys are glad they weren't signed up to 13 Valleys.
When you've done Lake District and you recover, like you're not going to get like much fitness work done. Well, maybe it's kind of long enough, but yeah, you turning that brain on that technical terrain.
Yeah. I'm not so concerned about that because Dragon's Back race last year, I had a shorter turnaround, I think beginning of September for Dragon's Back race.
Yeah, you'll be flying by, you'll have nothing to sandbag.
But that just constant
it's
watching
exhausting.
when you plant your feet. Yeah. I haven't been gifted with a high IQ, but I was racing, trying to keep up with where I was planting my feet. And then on Sunday, Robbo tripped on Saturday and bruised his ribs. And after I realised he was okay, I did have a little chuckle.
Take a picture.
Take a picture, put it as an Instagram story. Anyway, I had full on karma on Sunday because, I tripped over too. I was literally 2 miles into into the run. We started off at Ambleside, went over Loughrigg, and just on the way down, just tripped over. You've done those trails on the 50.
It's a track.
Super technical. Yeah. I proper, 10 out of 10. I did a roly-poly.
Those are always the ones that catch your foot though, aren't they? The technical trails, you rarely fall, and then you got on a flat bit of track and there's a root or a stone.
Yeah, but I bashed my hands, I cut my hands up, I bruised my rib. The thing that annoyed me initially is I actually physically purchased. I don't treat myself often, but after listening to the webinar, and Jay mentioned he had a...
What? You listened to what Jay said?
Yeah.
He had an ultimate,
that bit. No, not ultimate direction, sorry. A red light top, which is like a summer top, long sleeve, sunshine top. So I thought, I'm going to check that out. And I purchased one. First time on, fell over, filthy.
Ripped it.
Yeah, it's not ripped. I can wear it again for the Lakeland 100, but it's like a kind of teabagged it, I suppose. It's got lots of little holes where I went over.
Oh, did you?
And it's
now,
dirty.
the big question, did you cry?
I didn't cry. I'm tough.
You did cry.
I didn't cry. No, I didn't.
Oh,
that's only because there was 4 other people there. If I was on my own, I probably would have. Well, I just thought I'd be okay. I ran off an Aaron. Fair play to Aaron. He stopped, got his little first aid kit out, got my little antiseptic wipes, and patched me up. I ran the rest of the run. I think it was 13 miles, so it was okay. But it just took the fun out of it. And anyone knows who's hurt their ribs, a hydration vest and a heart rate monitor, all that pressure on the ribs. Sad times for Gary, that last 13 miles. And that inspired me to buy, you've got one of these, the optical heart rate sensor for your arm.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard when you've got biceps as big as ours, Gary, because of the Velcro strap, you have to really stretch it to get it across. But if you tie it really tight, it makes your biceps look even bigger.
I purchased one, but I purchased a chorus one. Hopefully it works with my Suntoe. Use my Patreon discount code over at X Miles. So hopefully it'll be here tomorrow. But I just thought, because I know historically I've had a bruised rib before, and it lasts for, it said on the NHS website, 2 to 6 weeks. And last time I was definitely still aware of it. 4 weeks. I think you said 5 weeks. So 100% there's going to be still some soreness, Lakeland 100. So anything just to take that pressure off the chest. I always thought, especially the optical heart rate sensors on your watch, really rubbish, to be honest. On your arm, are they a bit more stable?
Oh yeah, totally stable. Because
Sweet.
also you don't get sweaty, so they don't slip.
Yeah.
And they don't rub. You're not trying to put, and you can take it on and off super easy. You don't have to put a wet. They dry really easy. Oh yeah, I would never wear a chest strap again.
Try to be positive. Again, leaning on something that Chris says. I'm going to spoil out all of Chris's interview, but he said about his strength and conditioning, he kind of eased off about 2 weeks out of the race. So
you can stop now. It won't make any difference. Like, you're not going to build any strength. It won't make any difference. If you didn't run now, I'll tell you what, I've told you this before, Gary. I ran one of the fastest 50-mile trail times. I don't know if you know that. And I didn't run a step 3 weeks before.
You've told me that.
Nobody has ever, people always under taper. Very rare. You know, you don't over taper. Like, this is good for you because we know you've been pushing the envelope and you're tired and you've held it together. So the rib is not good, but this is good for the legs.
And that is the positive. You know, the scheme of I've not missed a workout, been really faithful to the plan. So if I miss 2 workouts in the scheme of a 18-week training, and to be fair, I haven't really stopped since, you know, I've been active training for Manchester and then went straight into this. So if I'm 5% undercooked, much better than being 1%.
And if you
overcooked.
can't wear the pack because the ribs are so cut, we could like fashion you like, you know, the kids wear like bum bags across the shoulder and then a quiver in the back and then just like your bum bag here. And you could just have your phone in and like a bit of mandatory kit and then stuff everything else down your pants. Or, you know, you're so famous now, you could ask if you could just have someone run next to you holding the kit.
Not allowed, unfortunately. Yeah, if you could have runners like in America, that's pretty common, isn't it? You have a pacer carrying all your.
There can't be any. There's no mandatory kit for Western states, is there? Because everybody goes just off in vest and shorts. So,
but the overall sensation is there's no pain. Just sitting here now, zero pain.
I can hear you breathe. Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. I feel like I'm having a kind of not going to have an asthma attack, but I feel like I'm.
You can't fully inflate.
And it is quite, if I take a deep breath, and I'm trying to do that. That's something I read on the NHS website is to every now and again, just trying to inflate your lungs just to get things moving. But it's not great. But like you said, I think as far as the training is concerned, negligible, the damage that can be done.
Mbappe played with a broken nose.
Exactly.
Kylian Jornet ran hard rock and won and did the course record with a dislocated shoulder. So you're going to go down with these big sporting greats, Gary, of like... And you could wear that. You could wear like the Mbappe like nose thing as well. We could just bandage you up. It'd be great for the podcast because people are like, who is that weirdo with the bobble hat?
Who is that?
And nose?
But I don't think it's going to affect, like as far as the train's concerned, I would be fine. Watch this space. You know, we've got it's probably, as this podcast goes out, it's going to be 2 weeks before Lakeland 100. The deets for the week, apart from the fall, another super good week, I think it was 90 miles, so big mileage week, pushed that up again, did 2 workouts, all the gym, and 15,000 feet of vert.
Positive vibes. I think a big part of my Rawdogging experience, no, I'm joking. I think a big part is positive. Let's be positive and let's see you out on those trails and moving.
What has been good, Reese made a comment, I need to hurt myself somewhere else to take away from the pain from my chest. And I think, I've been whinging about my neck for 6 months.
Doesn't hurt anymore. That's always lots of people that go into races with niggles and then they're like, that didn't hurt at all. But my foot, that really hurt. Would you go and... No, I'm not going to... I don't want to go there. Let's not even go there. Let's just done. You've hurt yourself, but...
My mindset at the moment is, obviously we'll see how it goes on the day, but regardless of how I feel, I'm going to toe that line because I'm chasing the slate as much as this 24 hours. So, I still will be there. It just might be a completely different day to what I'm used to.
You're the people's hero, you are.
Solidarity. This week's Brew the Coaches question comes from Russ Diamond-Webb. Won't say any more, but Russell is planning on going big. This week's question comes from Russ Diamond-Webb. Morning, coaches. I'm planning on going big and booking MIUT Madeira 115k next year. I've spoken with some people that have done it before, and the biggest thing they said they were underprepared for was the toll of the downhills on their legs, as there are approximately 25,000 feet of climbs and descents. Aside from the obvious of big days out in the mountains, is there any specific home/gym exercises you would recommend to help supplement that? I know for the climbs there is the good old Stairmaster, but there isn't an equivalent I can think of for the downs. Thanks. Russ Diamond-Webb. Yeah, that's similar to Paddy Buckley, Bob Graham round, 20,000 feet, about whatever that is, about 100k. And I mentioned before we started recording, I wonder what the nature of the trails are. Don't really know much about this race, but yeah, if those are runnable descents, if you've got 25,000 feet of actual runnable downs, then that is going to smash you up big time. Okay, from one Russ to another. Russell, what do you reckon?
Hi, Russ. Yes, so where do you live? Do you live like in a really, really flat area? Can you find any hills at all? Because you're not going to want to hear this answer, but everything else you do. Trish and Eddie might be kind to you, but it's going to be a complete waste of your time. It's like 180 steps a minute that we run. And if you're running for like an hour downhill, I just did the quick maths, it's like 10,000 steps. You're not going to get that in a gym. You just can't replicate that eccentric load. You can do depth jumps and jump off a box and do some pistol squats and all this nonsense. And you're going to trash your legs when you get to Madeira. And all of that is going to feel like a complete waste of time. You need to get on some downhills and you need to run down them. I would do it at least once every 2 weeks to really start to hypertrophy those thigh muscles. They're just breaking for a long time. It's a lot of work, and you're not going to find a gym exercise that's going to replicate that. Unless you fully commit to that, I would just pull out of the race and wait till next year when hopefully you have more time in your diary. You need to get on downhills and you need to run down them. It sounds like I'm being mean, but I'm being kind here because this is the only way you're going to save your legs on the day.
I suppose it depends on his aspirations. If he's not really...
No, sorry.
Russie's got big aspirations.
No, it doesn't. If you want to finish it, if that's your aspiration, you still need to start running some downhills.
I wonder if a workout, though, I'm doing these currently, I actually don't really do them because
it's not about you, Gary. You can't get free coaching advice for your downhills.
This is actually Gary. She's used a different name.
Guys, that's not the answer that Russ is looking for. Let's go on another tactic.
But I do these workouts where it's like 800 meters uphill and I have a little jog and then I run down the hill 800 meters. And I kind of neglecting that because I don't think I really need it for the races I've entered into. But maybe that's something that Russ could look at if
you don't need it for Manchester Marathon, no. But you do need it for Madeira Trail.
Oh,
Russ,
yeah.
take on board what Coach Russ said, definitely. But I do think the gym work will help with the downhill to give you the strength in order to run the downhills. If you go with your puny little thigh muscles and just run down hills, that is going to really hurt. If you go with strong muscles that have worked in the gym, the downhill is still going to hurt, but you're going to be so much stronger and you're going to be able to absorb that impact. Coach Russ suggested a few things that you can do in the gym, and I would say one of the biggest things that will help you is if you have done some gym work and you've got some good base, I take it that you have, let's say that you have, is by doing some heavy lifting into plyometrics. That is scientifically proven to be one of the best way to get that elasticity that you need for the downhills. We were just talking about this race before, Gary might have popped it in or not, that Robin Cassidy and Simon both went over, and they are accomplished mountain runners, and they were both absolutely smashed on the downhill. And probably there were two reasons for this. One is that it's really early on in the season, and so in the winter it's obviously harder to get to big mountains safely to be able to do that sort of running downhill. If you are running downhill, the downhill might be like super wet, really tricky to actually get speed on. And the other thing is that the downhill, a lot of it is on steps, and so you have to really think about how you replicate replicate. Very different to running on a lovely fire track downhill to running down steps, because you're absorbing a different impact, and every step that you take, it's not a natural running stance. You're dropping that hip down lower as well. So I do think that you can replicate that in gym. You can do, I would add steps, running down steps into my program when I got to the specificity of the race about 6 weeks before. Probably every week it would be a specific running up and down steps to get the neuromuscular junctions in the body as well working, so that as well your brain doesn't get as tired as you're trying to do the fast feet down the steps as well. So I would work on that as well for that race. But I do think that you can set the base, build a really strong legs and core in the gym, and then do as Coach Russ said, and take it out and practice those long downhills, but make it specific, because it is, I think it's the steps that crucify everybody in that race, both the ups and the downs. Don't be put off doing it, but just be prepared as well that I think it's going to hurt, like it's going to hurt, and be prepared for that pain of that race. But you, Diamond-Webb, what a surname. He sounds like he can take the pain.
I never even thought of the mental load. All of that, just concentration for all of that time.
Yeah, cognitive load. Yeah,
that's because I'm a woman. You don't think about that sort of stuff, Gary. You just.
It's super hard to be specific, though, wasn't it? Because as much as box jumps are great, you just can't be. You
needed us some stairs, some multi-story.
Coming down Snowdon, which is now called Ritva, on the Chamberis path, it's got a lot of steps, and it's about 1,000. Meters.
That's where you're going to go and move your whole family there, Russ.
Come visit me.
Go and live with Coach Russ.
What about you, Trish?
I know. I think, Russ, you're going to have the best day ever, mate. It's going to be awesome. Yeah, you're going to suffer a lot. It's going to be horrific. You're going to feel like death, and it's going to be spectacular. Yeah, I'm just super excited for you. I totally want to do this race because it sounds savage. It sounds absolutely savage. That's why we want to do it, right? So yeah, it's going to be absolutely miserable, but you'll do it. It'll be fine. Just keep moving forward. The bottom line is it's 100% going to really, really hurt. So it's just about trying to mitigate that as much as possible. The thing with downhill training is you don't have to, you've got to be, I'll just chuck in, you do have to be careful with downhill training. You can't just quickly go and smash out a load of downhill training. So, because it increases your risk of injury substantially to go and smash out a ton of downhill training. And actually, you don't need to do a huge amount, like Eddie said, in terms of the adaptations and, getting the neuromuscular system firing, etc. So the adaptations for downhill running, it's not quite the same as uphill running. You don't have to do as much. So if you are doing that, just be aware of that. You don't need to smash your legs on the downhill multiple times. You will get an injury if you do that. But yeah, you want a ton of vert in your training, and you definitely want to be getting on that stepper and doing as much as you can. In terms of what the other guys have said in terms of the plyometrics as well, and yeah, big strong legs. So you want to be lifting heavy for sure to mitigate it as much as possible. Bottom line, yeah, it's going to be super emotional, but you will have the best time. You'll have a great story for generations to come, and they'll tell tales about you. Do it.
What about a training camp though? Sorry, if Russ might be living in London, for example, but he can't afford a weekend away, 3 days, 4 days away somewhere before the race, would there be a time that you go, okay, maybe 4 weeks before the race?
This is you, isn't it? You wrote this question.
Yeah, is there any value of that?
I'd say 3 weeks if you can only do it once, and it's probably going to slightly mitigate the terrible effects. I don't know, Eddie, what would you say? 4 weeks?
Yeah, probably be safe and probably go 4 weeks to give yourself enough time to compensate and finish on a high. I always think if you go 3 weeks for a training camp, that your last memories of training are probably a bit emotional. So I always like, if you 4 weeks, you can still do it. Training again afterwards and start to feel good again before the race. Can I just say I love the characters that we create of these people that send in these questions, and Russ might not be the person that we imagine him to be at all, but
you mean Gary?
Gary Diamond-Webb.
We actually need a picture of you just to prove you exist now.
Yeah, can you send us the picture? Russ, let us know your thoughts, and let us know when you do the race. We're looking forward to the finish line picture on Facebook.
Definitely want a picture.
Yeah.
Definitely want a picture.
Good luck, Russ. I think the big takeaway is basically run up and down lots of hills. And I can echo that comment about the mental load as we discussed earlier. Yeah, the 13 valleys, all that technical terrain cooked my head. If you have a question for our coaches and you are a Patreon, you know us, if you're not a Patreon and you've got a really, really good question, we might
accept you, but we'll judge you.
Entertain
because we'll go.
We'll wag our finger.
We'll just be disappointed. We won't say anything. We'll just be a little bit disappointed. Nah, we're joking, guys. We love you all. Jokes.
Email them into hello@teaandtrails.com.
This week, the interview is sponsored by X Miles, the One Stop Nutrition Shop. Been practicing that. Patrons can receive 10% off over at www.xmiles.co.uk. I had a quick look, Gary, after you've been hassling X Miles for some sponsorship. I had a little bit look. One of the really exciting things about their webpage is you can build a nutrition plan or mix and match lots of different things. You can grab your precision fuel and hydration stuff over there, but you can also build in if you want to mix. And we would always encourage you want to mix bars, you want some gels, you want some salt, you want a cap. They've got some nice stuff. You want a chorus watch? Throw it in the basket.
I remember people said about sportshoes.com and they couldn't buy any tech. I think it was Garmin or Chorus were excluded. Well, I purchased I didn't give me it as a sponsor. I made a purchase myself, the optical heart rate sensor for my arm, and my Patreon discount code worked. So yeah, that's a big save. If you buy a watch, my goodness me.
That is massive. Let's say 10%, your watch is £500.
It's 50 odd quid, yeah.
Fun
times.
Not only is that an incredible discount, but your maths is on fire. This week, we share the mics with the incredible Chris Cope, smoking fast, and also a super lovely guy. And oh my gosh, you were saying, slip into my DMs, GPs. Chris?
If you're listening, Chris.
Let's hear your lowdown on this rib. I loved hearing how a type 1 diabetic not only takes part in some of the toughest races on the planet, and I do think that you can call the spine up there.
Oh, legit, yeah.
Summer Spine, maybe not, but definitely the Winter Spine. One of the toughest races on the planet, but he wins them too. Down to earth guy, but I don't think I'd want to mess with him, even though he says he doesn't train his biceps. I'm not sure he'd fit that heart rate monitor around his biceps. Anyway, stop talking about biceps. Here's our chat with Dr. Chris Cope.
This week we are joined by Chris Cope, fresh from crushing the 2024 Summer Spine Race, also squeezed in a smoking fast London Marathon too. Now that caught my attention, Chris, and I popped over the power of 10, and you have a time for pretty much every distance going. Yeah, I'm really impressed with that. Not so much 2024, fair enough, you've been focusing on longer stuff, but do you think, I'm really curious, are you going to be dusting off the spikes this year? A call of your running club?
Yeah, Boston and District Athletics Club, grew up there, and I've always run for them. And there's probably a Northern League in me at some point at the start of August, I should think. So 400 hurdles, 3K steeplechase, and just get my feet wet again. I don't want my feet wet again in the steeplechase.
I couldn't get one leg over the hurdle from a standing start. I don't know how you manage that, Chris.
Imagine doing a 200 meter race. Literally, my hamstrings would explode. That's, yeah. I salute you. Do you have a favourite track event?
Anything with jumping in them. So I love the 4 hurdles, love the steeplechase, but it was a little while ago now that I was doing that regularly, back in the teenage years and early 20s. But I still do it just to prove that I can to myself, I think.
I love that part of a running club, actually. I never did anything like that until I joined an athletics club, and then it was like, oh yeah, we're going to go down to Montane Stadium and do a 400 metres relay. I was like, oh my goodness me, I didn't expect this. But yeah, it's fantastic. I think everybody should experience.
Yeah, running is a team event in that way. And we all know ultra running is sociable, but actually there's something about track and field that is a lovely thing to do now and then. It's good
a lovely thing to do. Who is this we're talking to?
Well, you're right, though. It's quite often it is a solo pursuit, but when you do cross country or track and field or like a relay event, then every now and again you do get to experience that team. We ask all our guests, Chris, where are you? What's the view from your window? And have you been for a run today?
No, I haven't, but I'll be going for a run very, very soon. I think that's really important to get the legs moving after the spine. I've had one run and a few bike rides since. And it's strange. You can just start to feel that furnace is dying down. I'm eating all the food, but actually suddenly it's not quite burning it in the same way. So yeah, I need to move from now on. Got a lovely view over a field at the back of our house here. A lot of carnage in the house because we're currently redoing the kitchen and painting everything.
Okay.
Biting off too much, more than I can chew at the moment.
See, I like to save those jobs. I like to save the big house admin jobs for when you, maybe not so much in taper, but yeah, after an event, when you've got a bit of headspace and more time. What's the running like local to you? Do you have vert straight out the door? Lovely trails?
There's probably, I live in the Nottingham-Trent Valley, so lots of flat runs if you want them, lots of trails, not so much vert. There's probably a 40-metre hill is as big as it gets, so it's just a lot of repetitions if you want to do that to get anything in vert. But the peaks aren't too far away.
I think that's the beauty of the UK. Fair enough, it's not great to drive everywhere, but most people can hit the peaks or the lakes or Wales or Scottish mountains without too much driving admin. Could you share with our listeners, a bit about you and your journey to ultra running?
Yeah, not a problem. So I'm a GP in Nottinghamshire, 2 kids, 12 and 15, happily married, despite doing these stupid events. It's very forgiving. And then, I guess my first proper run was age 10. I did a marathon just because always been quite a driven individual. And I entered the thing.
Age 10, sorry, Chris, you did a marathon at 10.
Yes, and I'm very clear as a GP, I'm not advocating this for any primary school kids to do it.
Kids, my kids, well, you've not done a marathon. Chris, he's done a marathon. Get out there.
I suppose that's the start of it, really. The Seabank Marathon, Skegness to Boston, with very little training other than just playing lots and lots of football and running around the farm every day. Went out and did a marathon. And God, those last 10 miles taught me something as a 10-year-old, but it was never give up.
Were your parents sporty? You mentioned that, were they farmers? Were they?
Yeah, Dad's a farmer, really.
So were they like my grandparents that they didn't probably know what you were doing and off you went because they're busy on the
Absolutely. Yeah. I would cycle off, be in some derelict farm building somewhere during the day, and that is a lovely memory as a kid. Now you're tracking your kids on the Strava Beacon app, making sure where they are, where they're out cycling at all times. It's a different world, isn't it? Which is sad in a way.
It's sad. It's nice, but it's sad as well. You can give them that freedom, but you can also. Okay, so you did the marathon. I think that's our youngest. Start to the ultra. Then what happened next? That put you off for life?
Put me off for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Joined Holbeach, Boston and District Athletics Club, started doing cross countries, loved cross countries. The muddier, the better. We had a great school teacher that took us every weekend out across the UK to inter-counties, national champs, East Mids Leagues. It was just brilliant and really sociable. And that's what I think is so good about running. There's always friends and people to have around you. University, I was doing a bit more track, and then it just stopped because work takes over mid-20s. There just wasn't time with kids and other projects that I was doing in life. And then at 35, my younger brother had done an Ironman New Zealand a few years before and constantly went on about how he was an Ironman. So I thought, I've got to do this. I can't be having my little brother bragging all the time. And so I did an Ironman.
Family rivalry.
There's nothing like a bit of competition to get you going, is there? I did that at Wales and the Outlaw in Nottingham. Lucky and trained hard enough to qualify for Kona. Did Kona, the Hawaii World Champs as an age grouper. Also a brutal double triathlon in North Wales. And actually that was the real epiphany of ultra running, going up Snowdon in the middle of the night, and then the sunrise as you're coming back down. It's just glorious, and that freedom, which we all know about. We're all listening, and that's why we do this. And that was my epiphany moment, and then got into longer stuff from then on. You
burst onto my scene, my radar. Well, it was your pecs, your biceps, and your abs. Dragon's Back Race 2020.
Yeah.
2023. You had apologies, Chris, but you had a sensational 3 days, and I think the latter 3 days didn't didn't go so well. Yeah, what happened? Your Dragon's Back 2022.
2022, that's it. Yeah. So that was my first real experience of high level running, and I'd seen Simon Roberts on the was it a Netflix or a Prime documentary the year before? I thought,
I think so. Yeah,
awesome. And then to be running with him, James Nobles, a fantastic trio over the first 3 days. I went over on my ankle really badly on day one, ripped all the ligaments, and you can still run, or I can still run. It swelled up like a melon, but the physios there were excellent, taped it up brilliantly, but it just kept going unexpectedly. So I was using the poles and I was fine, but then on coming down Cadair Idris, I went down and tore my right quad, vastus lateralis. Not a horrific tear, but enough to just not be able to put any power down. Well, I was running like with my heart on my sleeve, just enjoying myself. So I was probably going a bit harder than I needed to. Certainly, I mean, James was incredibly balanced. I think myself and Simon both had days where we went and blasted it. Massive kudos to James for just keeping everything controlled. Very deserved winner.
He's like that. He's like that. Annoyingly, a steady ship.
Then I guess in the second half, when I'd slowed down, I mean, the beacons were horrible, having to come down those with my quad. But actually, you get a different aspect of the race. I was quite a lot further back, stopping, cutting, and it's just seeing a different side to it was great. And I had to finish. It was like that marathon at age 10. There was never a question of not finishing. I dragged myself with my teeth to the end, but I was going to do that.
That was the question actually. Did you ever consider DNFing? Because the second half, the people at the back, when they're chasing cut-offs, that's a completely different race, and they're getting in, it's dark, they're chasing the cut-offs, then they're getting up early to get out for as much time as possible to run. You literally had both sides of the story. Fantastic.
Yeah, totally. I mean, we'd got a great tent, as you often do at the Dragon's Back. You make some real bit of camaraderie within the tent. And Mark Aldridge, who was with us, was almost getting in at 9:30, got all his admin to do, eating. He's back out at 5 to be set off for 6. I mean, that's a huge undertaking. Massive kudos for that.
Smoking Fast London, that I'm pretty sure that's a championship time. Do you think, England Vest, will you be going? Is it, I always wish when people get the England Vest, it could be somewhere glamorous. It's Chester this year, isn't it?
I've just got to do it. I know I want to do it, but getting that motivation, I think, is going to be a little bit tricky, because I want to go there and I want to try and get closer to my London time. But I've got to get that motivation back. It'll come.
When is that race, Chris?
First weekend of October.
So what, 3 months? With the England Vest, I know I did York Marathon once and I didn't have the vest, but I saw lots of other people with the vest, and that was my motivation to go past. I had no idea how old they were, what age group they were in. I just wanted to smash them. Well, London, super different, obviously, to Summer Spine Race. How did training differ once you finish London Marathon to get ready for the Spine?
Training is often base training, and then you really slow stuff, and then you get lots of speed at the end. And that's what I did for London. It worked really well for the Spine. So I was running some of my best times that I've done at 41, just pre-London, as you'd expect, getting a PB. And then just dialing it totally back. Lots of hiking, really slow paced stuff. Suddenly got the weight on the pack, an overweight pack, more than I'd be carrying, using the poles, but just zero speed work. Few faster hill sessions, but that was about it. And it worked really, really well. Because you want to get race specific in the last 6 weeks, don't you, before you taper? And it lent itself a treat.
Why the Spine, Chris? What poked that bear? Why did you think, I'm going to be a really fast marathoner, and then 6 weeks later, I'm going to run the Spine?
I suppose the Pennine Way is a beautiful and
what? When? Which part? What are we talking about here?
Or so I thought. I think I saw the highlights with mist and
at the start.
The highlights were the lasagna at Alston. So High Cup Nick and Cauldron Snout and Malham Cove.
Were they all in daylight, those bits?
No, pitch black.
Oh no! Okay.
Which was such a shame, especially Malham, because the pavement up there is risky in the dark.
Yeah, in the well, I did it in the light, but I can imagine in the dark. Like, had you recce'd that bit before?
No,
So-
I haven't recce'd any of it. It's a very unlike the Dragon's Back, where I went to recce a lot before. This, I just wanted to see it for the first time. I mean, I've done Penny End a couple of times and around Hebden Bridge where my brother lives, but that was it.
So why was it that you wanted to take on such a different event and with weight? I mean, it couldn't be more different to running fast on tarmac.
I think variety is really important in life. And so, yeah, I enjoy the track, but actually I've gone more into this. And every single time you do something, you're then looking for the next challenge.
Oh, we know that.
We all know that. And so I think from the Dragon's Back, this is quite an equivalent race, but a step up in terms of distance and very different in terms of how you pace it and accept the challenge. And it was just a natural progression, really. It's an internationally acclaimed and well-known event, and I wanted to get out and do it.
Was it everything you thought it would be? Because I think their media team is quite clever, very clever, quite an understatement. They don't glamorize it, but they do make it look tough, but they also make it look maybe a bit different to it actually is. How was the actual real life experience? Because you seem to be the happiest person I've ever seen.
Yeah,
all the way around.
Absolutely. I think that's true. I think I was smiling to the extent that I'm now fed up of seeing my face on the Montane.
So am I. Oh my God.
Smiling away. But I was having such a good time. I genuinely was. I mean, there's that psychology of the more you smile, the better things are. And that is unquestionably true. But it's just, I was having the time of my life out there. Gutted for John Shield dropping out so early, and then a few, there were the 5 other guys that were all in the top 2 and 3 each time and had to drop out. You put that much effort in. Gutting for that to happen, but it did make my life a lot easier, allowed me to enjoy it a bit more.
Yeah, because to talk a little bit about how the race panned out, you were running in a sort of pack, a little bit of a pack to start, the sort of was it about the first 70 miles, I guess? Yes,
absolutely. And to Hebden Bridge, there was, up at Hebden Bridge, it was just John and myself by that stage. And then I left Hebden Hay slightly earlier than John because he was having some bowel issues, bless him, and so then he followed me out, but by that time I was gone, and I think he was struggling by that point.
How was that leading up to that? Were you chatting, or were you just being the smart? You were being friendly. Were you being nice?
Yeah, absolutely. We got on really well, and as he was saying, it's actually been really nice to get to 75% of the way and then let's race it, because it's a long time to be on your own out there. As you know from doing it, I think you were finding different groups to be with, different people to be with each time, and that's really important. We're humans, we crave contact generally. That was really nice to have just kept with John for a little bit longer, I think. But then you're catching up with the other runners from the Challenger events, and you'll be with them for a while. I mean, the people along the course, both the volunteers and just random people that turn up, they're angels, just suddenly beckon you over, open the car boot and say, what do you want? And it's like a convenience store in there.
Everything. I want everything. Were you prepared then? So from Hebden Bridge, you were pretty much by yourself then for the next hours and hours and hours. I think people are sometimes not prepared for that on the spine, that even though people might be in vicinity of you, you spend most of the time on your own. You are on your own. I remember, I think it's leaving Alston when they go, okay, 60 miles until the next, and you're, how did you cope with that? Were you ready for that?
You train for the race, don't you? And I think that's really important advice in every way. A little bit unusual. I mean, not many of my friends want to come out and do a 50k or a 100k run with me. And I think one of my key runs was doing 100k after a day at work, setting off at 9:30, full pack, and a route round Nottinghamshire that I hadn't got a clue about, totally new path. So I was navigating off my watch in the middle of the night. A friend set up an aid station, North Nottinghamshire, left a little tray outside his front gate with all sorts of goodies in. So actually doing that at night, getting used to that nav, that sleep deprivation was really, really helpful. So actually I didn't struggle too much because I'd been there and done that.
The sleep deprivation, how was that? Is that the first time you've gone that heavy into the sleep deprivation?
Absolutely. Yeah.
What was that like? Any funky friends visit you?
Yeah, this is probably my most low point of the spine, is knowing that I didn't get any of those hallucinations. I feel slightly shortchanged. So I pushed quite hard. I was sleep deprived, and yet it was still, I mean, John said he'd seen gremlins. There's lots of people who've got loads of different great stories. There was one chap, and I won't mention his name, but he, towards the end, was walking next to a sheep. And as the sheep walked forwards, he walked forwards, and the sheep looked left, he looked left, and it came as a sudden realization that he was the sheep and the sheep was him. I mean, that's not a hallucination, that's a thought delusion, which is really quite advanced. So that guy needed some sleep, bless him.
Yeah. How much sleep did you have, Chris?
I had an hour. I tried to get sleep at Middleton, failed miserably, so I got up after half an hour. I had an hour at Bellingham, where I just woke up, swollen feet, stiff legs, and really wished I hadn't slept for that long.
Yeah.
2 5-minute naps were ace, absolutely ace. So I came down off High Cup Nick, thick mist in the dark, water spraying down the sides, really difficult nav and risky. And I think I was mentally done for at that point. Just laid down in someone's drive just before Dufton, had 5 minutes with my pack under my head, woke up and felt great, which I'd never done that before. You hear about these power naps and it worked for me. So I wish I just had many more power naps. Yeah. Everyone's different, but so an hour and 10 minutes was my total sleep.
I mean, people talk, when I start training people for these big events, they often talk, they say, well, I'm a parent, I've got a job that requires going through the night. Do you think being a doctor, you must have done some on-call and overnight, do you think that helped? I'm never sure if it does help or not, being able to go through the night and cope with sleep deprivation.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think having to think on your feet, working in A&E overnight for probably a year, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, helped no end.
Yeah.
You've got that cognitive thing, you're always on your feet. So you can do it. And just knowing you can do it is a big thing.
It takes a bit of the fear away, doesn't it? Of like, I've done this before while saving lives. I only need to look after
it. Takes the fear away, but but doing it in training, I just think, especially, I'm 51 now, so that might be more to do with it. But if I do a night run, that's me done for probably about Wednesday. Like literally training goes out the window.
Thankfully, I didn't find that. That's one of the journeys.
You're much tougher. Basically, you're tougher than Gary is what you're
Sorry, Gary, that's not what I meant. But it's that journey into finding out how does it affect me. And that was a big part of me working out how am I going to pace this race, because I'd got no idea how to pace it until I did that and it went well. And then I could get a proper pacing strategy together.
You mentioned the water running down, that horrible track coming down High Cup Nick, which is bad enough on a dry, lovely day. The weather looked not summer spine like. Talk us through that and how you coped with that. Maybe a little bit about the kit that you used to go. I didn't see you in a lot of kit. I saw you in a vest for most of it. Were you a bit upset you had to put a coat on?
Well, I wore more than the dragon's back, didn't I? Thankfully, I just wanted to show off the insulin pump and the CGMS back on the dragon's back. Yeah. And I ended up with some pretty horrific sores on my back from my pack from doing that. That was unwise. So I was on antibiotics after the event for doing that. So it was unwise. Don't do that. Yeah, just I quite like to wear as little as possible, thin stuff. But there was times where I got waterproof and my warm down layer on, because in the middle of the night it was cold. The rain kept on coming down, but even when it was stopping raining in the second half, and we had some lovely blue skies over the Cheviots, it was just so boggy underfoot. The real problems this year were managing your feet. And some people are very fortunate, their feet are pretty tough. Mine are somewhere in the middle. And after the race, I was straight onto flucloxacillin, antibiotics. I got weeping feet. And I know other competitors that were admitted to hospital after the event for IV antibiotics. The trench feet were that bad. this year.
Did you do anything like pre-event for your feet?
File my nails down as kind of much as possible. I'm still not convinced whether lots of moisturising is a good thing or not. So I leave them as they are pretty much. Make sure you do use antifungal cream in the couple of weeks before, just in case, because the last thing you want is any fungal infection in your feet, because that will macerate them far more. But other than that, it's about what works for you. For some people, it's waterproof socks or with some liners inside. But for me, I just sweat, and they're even worse macerated feet if I use waterproof socks.
What was your trainer and sock combo of choice? People love that sort of stuff.
Okay, so I had some $4.99 Amazon compression socks on, which are unbranded. They just work for me. And Hoka Tecton X2s, which
Gary likes those ones, don't you, Gary?
Carbon plate for the spine. I love it.
There's a little bit of bounce, a little bit of roll. They're really stable. That carbon just acts as a rock plate, which was probably better in the Dragon's Back. You don't need it massively. There's that bit along the River Tees with a lot of rocks where it was helpful. But generally, they drain really well as well.
That's a great shoe. I used it for the Lakeland 100 last year in any section where you can run. It's just like, oh my goodness.
A little bit give back, isn't it? It's just that little bit of give back.
Yeah.
Before we get onto your fueling, Chris, last question from me. How did the body then hold up? Your biggest, longest race you've ever done. How did the body hold up? Were you battling anything over the Cheviots?
Honestly, no. Changed a few things training wise, so some longer, slower runs and lots of strength training compared to the Dragon's Back.
Can we delve in? That was my last question I was going to ask you about strength training, because those biceps, they're either drug fueled or done in the gym. So Gary and I both love strength training, but I think I love it a little bit more than Gary. What does your strength training look like?
So twice a week, I'll do about 45 minutes, spin on the bike before, and then 45 minutes of just lifting the heaviest stuff.
I love it. I love it.
4 or 5 reps maximum, and then you're done for, and then you move on to another muscle group and then another muscle group. But it is absolutely all below the waist. I do no strength training above the waist at all, apart from planks now and then in the evening. There's no core. I don't do any core. I certainly don't do any upper body. I've tried really hard to lose my upper body from the swimming, because the last thing you want to be doing is carrying a load of useless shoulder muscle up cross fell. But yeah, those leg muscles. So it's all about 4 or 5 reps doing that 4 times on the quads, the hamstrings, glutes, both calves, soleus and gastrocnemius.
How do you find that when you're doing a heavy running load? Can you mix that up, or do you find you have to take the weights down, or does it affect your next day running?
So I wouldn't be doing a speed session the next day, because I just can't. But 2 days later, I'd be okay. And I think the key thing is gradually building it up. So the strength training is
dear listener, don't go in and do 5 reps as heavy as you can on every muscle group because you want to look like Chris. This is I expect years in the making.
Yeah, absolutely. 12 months. Yeah, 12 months of strength training, building that. And then once I got to 6 months, I didn't increase the weight at all. I kept absolutely stable whilst I was then doing the London build and then the long stuff. So the strength training was very consistent once I was within 6 months.
How far out though from the spine did you ease off the weights?
2 weeks.
Weeks.
Gary's
just going to write that down.
So the body held up super strong.
Yeah,
still running over it. Just the feet. Yeah, I reckon maybe upgrade a little bit from the Amazon socks maybe next time. I don't know.
I've tried all sorts. I've got several pairs of waterproof socks. Not had much joy with them.
I think waterproof socks are best when it's freezing. When it's freezing temperatures, because they keep the foot warm and your toes warm, and they just keep the moisture out. I think when it's really wet, like you say, I actually want the water to drain. I don't want it to sit there. And then when the sock gets wet, it rubs. So I'm a believer in a smaller, lighter sock as well. But I think as well, it's your skin. It's your natural genetic, like the makeup of your foot. Some people, like you said, have really tough. Gary probably has tough old feet. Yeah,
I never suffer badly. Not kind of race ending feet. Super fortunate with that. Yeah. Should we talk about fueling?
Yes.
Moving on.
Do it.
I suppose, more than most athletes, Chris, it's quite important that you get your fueling right. did you have a strategy? And more importantly, did it go to plan?
Yeah, absolutely. It was on the spreadsheet, so it had to happen. I am very chaotic as an individual if I don't have an absolute plan laid out. So I do plan to the nth degree. And essentially two sources of fuel. One was a litre bottle in my pack with gel in. And so I make my own gel, 2/3 maltodextrin, 1/3 fructose. I had 5 bottles in each checkpoint drop bag as well that I could just swap over. So I knew how much I'd need for each stage. And then every 30 minutes, I was taking a swig. Worked an absolute treat. I train with it and I know I'm going to be fine until checkpoint 3. And then your stomach says, nah.
No more maltodextrin. That's not what I'm looking for.
Please stop.
Yeah.
Please stop.
Yeah.
And I guess that's partly because I was going a bit slower and partly because it had just had enough. So you've got to have an option too. And I was having maybe a protein bar, cereal bar, some nuts or something every hour, but that then replaced. So I was then having my 70 to 100 grams of carb in bars instead. And at the checkpoints, absolutely loading up. So you know what it's like, lasagna, don't you, Eddie? I think you had 4 or 5 portions, you'd said.
Disgusting.
5 or 6 portions. Oh, it's amazing.
It's amazing because you're so low at that point. You're so calorie deficient that literally, and they have to say stop, don't they? Because they're like, we need some for everybody else. But you could just sit there and eat for the next day, couldn't you?
Absolutely. They're brilliant. They're absolutely brilliant. And it just gets warm, wholesome food that goes in. And again, part of my training is sometimes I'll eat a big meal and go out for a run straight away. So I want to know that, you try to make your guts cast iron as well. So I could get out and then exercise straight after doing that. The rice pudding afterwards, absolutely cracking. So yeah, just making sure you fuel, because the moment you stop fueling, you've only got an hour of energy within your muscles. Within that hour, they're going to start catabolizing the protein, breaking down the muscle protein, and that's just a surefire way for an end of your race. So if you're not fueling, you need to slow the pace right down, get your guts back into line, and start putting something else in.
How would you feel, there was that recent controversy, I'm not going to mention the brand, don't want to get us in trouble, but there was claims for a gel that it wasn't delivering the amount of carbs that I think it was saying on the packet. For someone like yourself as well, where the numbers do matter. Yeah, for argument's sake, you're doing the spreadsheet, you think you're getting 20 grams of carb, but you're actually in reality only getting 10 grams of carb. How does that play out in your race?
That would be a huge change for 2 reasons. Firstly, you're not fueling your race properly. I haven't heard of that, actually. I'll have to be looking that up. That's quite interesting. Firstly, you're not getting the fuel that you feel you need to keep running at that pace. And secondly, because of my diabetes, I need to know that I'm fueling correctly for two reasons. In a way, because of my loop system that I have, it would balance that, but I quickly know that my blood sugars are running a bit lower and that I was running slower.
Okay, we've tried these. We've had them on the podcast previously. Brand Super Sapien, is your system the same as that, or is it kind of a special one, say NHS provides?
Yes, there's Super Sapien, Zoe, they were the Libra system. So I used to have a Libra device, which was the medical arm to that product. The problem with Libra for me was that it was always 20 minutes behind where my actual sugar was, which when you're looping, you need to know what your sugar is now. And so the Dexcom that I've got there, for me, that's usually 5 minutes behind, or somehow it's even on time. It's like there's something about the algorithm predicts, which is hugely important, because if you're running 20 minutes behind, your blood sugar can be low or going up, and you're already in the danger zone.
Signs though, there might be somebody listening. I actually listened to another podcast years ago. I still do go to the toilet quite a lot, and that seemed to be a red flag for type 1 diabetes. I went to the GP, and luckily everything was okay for me. But yeah, if anyone listening, any signs that they should maybe look out for? So
for me, at the age of 13, 14, my running times just went down and down and down. My weight started going down, drinking lots of fluid. Your mouth is constantly dry and you're weeing all the time. They're the classic signs. And that can be type 1 or type 2 diabetes. If you're getting those symptoms, see your GP.
Last one from me, Eddie. What would you say? There might be somebody out there who's, again, listening, or maybe a friend or a loved one of someone who's listening. They might think that diabetes is a barrier to do an exercise, what would you say to them? And it doesn't have to be Dragon's Back race, my goodness me, it could be anything.
Absolutely. And it probably should, which certainly shouldn't be those things to start with. There's not many type 1s that do things like the Dragon's Back. Ian Evans and myself are on the start line, both diabetics at the spine. You should start low and build up, just like most things in life. Everyone's diabetes is different, and that's the problem. They can read a blog by a diabetic, but actually you've got to know how yours specifically acts. The general advice would be make sure that you start low and build up gradually. CGMS, continuous glucose monitoring, is brilliant. It gives you a 5-minute blood sugar update to your phone. Previously, you'd have to finger prick, and we wouldn't do that every 5 minutes. So we are blessed with this technology now. If your blood sugar's dropping, stop, take whatever sugar you've got with you. You must take sugar with you as a diabetic, especially. Have some kind of beacon on your phone, Strava or Find Me, whatever, because it is a bit of a risk, especially initially when you first start out. So you want somebody to be able to find you if you're having a hypo in a ditch somewhere, as awful as that sounds. Enjoy it. The key thing is to do what you enjoy. I hope that's running, because we all love running, but actually if it's cycling or swimming or football, just being active, especially as a diabetic, is vital.
Is it very important as a diabetic to be active? Is it a good way to control the insulin response? And I guess as well, it gives you, do you become more, you must be so in tuned, Chris, with your body that you can almost pre-read the readings that you see?
Absolutely. When I'm not running, so now, for example, the furnace is dying down, and actually I can see I'm needing twice as much insulin as I usually do. I'm way more insulin resistant or less insulin sensitive, and that just makes it so your sugars are zigzag as opposed to that nice happy constant, which is what we're aiming for. So exercise in moderation is a really good thing. The second half of the spine, my sugars had been smooth as anything in the first half, but the second half they were starting to zigzag, and my insulin needs was going up because of the cortisol, adrenaline, stress hormones. So it is a long race, isn't it?
Were the medical team sort of like closely, did you have to sort of talk to them about it and how you're going to manage it? And because were you worried that, suppose that signal your phone had died, I dropped my phone in a bog and then it died, so you haven't got that reading. What was like, did you have a sort of backup plan, or did you have a medic eyes on you? What's that dog? Yeah. What's that dog doing?
I think we're all pretty closely watched, aren't we? But probably myself slightly more so. So beforehand, the medics were in touch with me. How are you going to manage this? What spare kit are you taking? So I've got huge amounts of spare kit in my drop bag. I've got an insulin pen in case my pump packed up, and I've got the finger prick test in my pack as well in case the glucose monitor. So you're carrying a little bit of extra kit just to be sure, because you can't be in a situation where you don't know what your sugar is, or you can't give yourself insulin.
So anyone whining about carrying a poo shovel or anything, we just go, but Chris had to carry all of the his diabetic, his little medical kit on his back. Yeah, that's such a proud achievement. You must have been so proud, like not only winning the Summer Spine in a fantastic time, but managing a very quite serious medical condition at the same time. That's such a massive achievement, and what an inspiration to other people that perhaps are diabetic, or perhaps have a child that's diabetic or a loved one that's diabetic, because it's a frightening thing to cope with. But you go out there and you've shown people, with careful monitoring, with a careful build, you can still do your dreams.
Absolutely. That's exactly what I wanted to see. And some of the feedback I was getting from parents saying, I can't believe my kids can achieve what they want to, is absolutely touching that I've managed to achieve a little bit of that to help out. So that's really good. And any long-term condition, there are always ways around it, be it something Crohn's, ulcerative colitis. There should always be a way of achieving your goals and getting around things.
Is there any really good resources? I guess there isn't a lot of studies on runners and diabetic. We found that when people have asked us questions about it. But is there anywhere people can go to find anything, a little bit more details about running and diabetes?
Yeah, so diabetic specialist nurses they're getting a lot more aware of exercise. So, and they know your diabetes and they can tailor a little bit more.
Yeah.
They're a great resource. That's a really important resource to use. Website wise, there are quite a few websites out there. I think some of them are very specific blogs. So if you read, I'm writing one at the moment, but it's very specific for me. Whereas something like Run Suite, and I'd recommend, I used Run Suite when I was getting into endurance sports in 2018, is a good website that's very general, lots of great advice for diabetes and activity. So yeah, I'd certainly recommend that.
Did you notice, you probably didn't because the fallout from the spine is so massive, that recovery phase. Do you think it made it harder with the insulin response to them being absolutely exhausted, the body not even knowing what it's doing? Or do you think you pretty much had a kind of like, it was just horrendous anyway?
I think it's going to be horrendous, whatever. The problem is, or the benefit is, giving insulin allows you an insight as to what your body's doing.
Yeah.
So as on your podcast, you sounded slightly spaced out on the first one and that you were a totally different person the second time, back to kind of your normal Eddie self. And I think that's how I was last week. But interestingly, the insulin needs has just increased in the last few days because I'm still eating. So you can see that, as I said, that furnace going off. Actually being aware of what your sugars are doing and your insulin need. Non-type ones don't get that. So it's something that I do use that can be seen as a positive, to be a bit more in tune with your body.
I loved tracking my insulin levels when we used it for a little bit, but I didn't need to. So I didn't feel like I wanted to stay in tune with how I felt. I didn't want something on my phone to tell me what I should be doing. I was like, yeah, pretty much I'm hungry. I need to eat. I'm grumpy. I need to eat. Oh yeah, look at that. Or that's going to spike. But I felt like I was in tune with that. And I think a lot of runners will know that because of the running. We know exactly, you know that feeling after 10 miles.
Yeah.
When someone in the group goes quiet and you're like, have you had a snack yet?
Absolutely. Medically, I'm not sold on glucose for non-diabetics.
Yeah.
Do you have any triggers, any particular food, though, that you would have a can of Coke, for example, and your monitor would just start whoop, whoop, whoop?
Yeah. So all foods are different. So if I had a Monster energy drink after each checkpoint. I know.
Those are banned. The kids are like, Mum, can we try one once? And I'm like, never.
I would never use one except for in a race. I did before in the middle of each stage of the Dragon's Back, and I did after each checkpoint. And they do work for me for that, even with a little bit of burping afterwards. I chugged one at Middleton, much to the amusement of that's on film.
The doctor chugging the Monster energy.
Classic.
Not a good look. But yeah, so that will make it spike a little bit. Interesting other stuff like pork pies, which I had a couple of the honesty boxes. They don't give you much of a rise initially, but that protein and fat load give you that really slow rise afterwards, which is, so it's being aware of what different foods do.
No, I'm just so amazed that you managed this, Chris. I struggled to get myself over the Cheviets. How you managed to get yourself also monitoring this and keep eating is just incredible. It's just wow. Yes, that's just amazing. Let's talk a little bit about the end of the race, because it's such an incredible finish, the Spine. You leave Burness with them going, it's only a marathon. It's just
nearly
a marathon. Couple of 1,000 meters. You got this. You had a big lead. So like the stress of but I know at that point, it's like you're working as hard as you can. So the lead or no lead, you're going to still, knowing you as well, marathon at 10, you're going to work as hard as you can to finish. How did it feel going over the Cheviets? How did it feel at the end?
I've never been to the Cheviets before. It's a pretty glorious range of mountains in the blue skies that we had. Still flipping boggy underneath, which I totally had.
Never dries.
Never dries.
Out.
And those flagstones, are they there? Aren't they there? That game all the way across.
Yeah. My feet were yelling at me, but I was kind of ignoring them totally by this stage. The legs were still good, and I was able to look out and actually look up and enjoy the scenery. Hut 1 and is it A and B or 1 and 2? I always get that wrong.
1 and 2, yeah.
1 and 2, nice bit of support there. Coffee at Hut 2. You're just rolling down. It's not quite rolling down.
little.
There's a bit of a hill going up, I say a bit, and then you think, right, I'm past the farm now, tarmac all the the way. But there's that kicker in the road as well.
Which is, I mean, that's definitely 500 meters, that kicker. That is just, it's probably one of the worst bits of the race, isn't it?
Yeah,
Even though it's nothing. It's nothing.
Yeah, it's tarmac, and it's just, you're like, oh, come on, let it be over now. I want that wall to hit me. And you do, but then once you're over it, down, you can see through the houses to the border hotel, probably about 300 yards before. And from that point, it doesn't matter how tired you are, everybody's jogging and then sprinting it in. Some people are heel clicking over the lines. You go under the arch. It's just such an emotional release, isn't it? Coming to that point, you get ushered into the border hotel, and I'm sure in the winter as well, it's even better again to be into the warmth and the hustle and bustle of human interaction again. But yeah, kiss that wall again. Got some tatties and neeps and mints into me, and was just a happy boy, very happy boy.
Was it everything that you thought it would be?
Pretty much, it has ticked everything that I needed and wanted for it. From the diabetic point of view, raising a bit of money for charity, we raised guide dog pups, my wife and myself. So that was
Oh my God, Chris, how have we only just touched on this now?
It's a nice thing to do. It's a bit heart-wrenching. So Linda,
they have to go.
Linda has to go. Our current one is hopefully going to be a breeding dog that we can keep. So Vicky.
Are they Labradors? Is that what you have?
Yellow Lab was Linda. She's now off doing Linda the Lab. Yeah. Shouting over the park, come here, Linda.
Come here, Linda. Let go, Linda, no. So, okay, this is quick. I know we've got to wrap up soon, but so you have them when they're puppies, when they're 8-10 weeks?
And then
is your role to sort of like house train around the family, that sort of thing?
Absolutely, yeah. And so Naomi does a lot of the puppy classes, and she does a lot of the training. She's awesome at it. They go off, they have their more specific formal training, and half of them succeed, and the other half become kind of companion dogs and things in different ways.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you follow their journeys when you say goodbye to Linda? Does she?
Yeah. So Linda, we know where she is. We know who she's with. We know she's still eating this person's plants, just like she was in our house. So she's not changed, but she is an awesome guide.
So a question we ask all our dog lovers is: are they allowed on the sofa, Chris?
Guide dogs don't let them on the sofa. So the answer is no for a podcast.
Right, we need to contact. Okay. I like the way he blames the guide dog. He's like, I'd have Linda next to me. We won't tell them. Do you have your own dog, Chris?
Just the puppies, but as I say, hopefully Vicky will become a breeding dog, so we'll get to then keep her, and she'll do the business every year.
That's a hell of a lot of work. Puppies, like, we have dogs, but I love them being puppies, but gosh, they're harder work than kids.
Constant puppies. Oh my goodness.
Constant puppies. But it's sort of the dream as well.
It is, yeah. We've got space around us. It's pretty much perfect for that, and it is a lovely thing. Yeah.
So marathon, fast, smoking fast, tick. Spine, 1, tick. What's next on the bucket list? Back to marathon, but then maybe after that as well.
It's a really good question. It's a question that I've been
You don't have to answer it. You can blur. You can blur the answer into.
I don't have something. Well, I'm going to enter X or Y, but there are so many events out there that are lovely to do. I want to do some triathlons with my son, because my 15-year-old will be beating me within a year or two. So maybe just beat him once or twice before.
One more time, yeah.
And I guess then there's other events, like ones that are awkward to enter, where you have to find an email and know the date, and to try and find something out about
Cinema, we know that one.
And Tour de Giants, something in Europe I would love to be able to do.
I love it. Yeah, I love it. Western States, would that be? Because I can imagine that's in your skill set, a bit of Western States.
Yeah.
You can run guns out, suns out there. Imagine. Just a light vest on top of that. Are you tempted?
No chafing, it's all handheld bottles.
It's all handheld bottles.
You get blisters, Chris.
You'd be fine. Carbon shoes. Winter Spine, are you tempted to go and see the wonderful Penis Way in the winter?
Interestingly, at the moment, definitely not.
No, it's too raw right now. I need to ask you this in a month or so. But is it something you think, I'd like to go back and get Damien Hall, John Kelly, take them down.
It's going to be a very different race, isn't it? And that, I think for me, I don't like to retrace old steps necessarily.
I hear you. There's no need to. You've written your story. Do you need to go back?
No, but it is sufficiently different that I could see myself going back in this case, whereas I wouldn't normally. Actually, it's a sufficiently different race. But I mean, that darkness for that duration is quite something.
Fine. It's like an hour or two.
They're all different though, aren't they? That's something if you talk to Ian Keith, he always says, I asked him, I think Northern Traverse, why'd you keep coming back? He just said, well, kind of fundamental. It's the same route, but every year it's different.
Yeah.
Just the weather chucks that different curveball.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that. I'll sign it. I'll pay for you, Chris. I'll pay for you just to see you take them down.
Should we do the quick five?
Yes, let's do it.
First question is, do you prefer non-stop or a multi-day stage race?
Non-stop now.
I suppose, yeah, if you're winning it, that's where I'd go for. Guilty TV pleasure. Yeah, Eddie and I are banging on your door. What are we going to find? What are you watching on Netflix?
With Linda on the sofa.
At the moment, I haven't got... I'm just obsessed with the Tour de France at the moment.
The kids learnt about bonking last night. Brendan and I were going.
We're going to go back to your teenage years, Chris. What posters are we going to see on your bedroom wall?
Denise Lewis.
She's still got it too, hasn't she, Chris? She just gets sensational. What an athlete. And she's still an athlete.
Absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
And she's so kind. She's always lovely.
She is.
Others, when they do the commentary, they're a little bit judgy sometimes. But she's always like, I think she did as well as she could. She's had a tough year. And I'm like, yeah, Denise, I'd like you in my kitchen going, come on, Eddie, you could do this.
Absolutely.
Let's do some press up.
She's a total hero.
Yeah. 10 out of 10, Denise. Yeah, she's great. Night owl or early bird?
Early bird. Definitely an early bird. I'll happily be up very, very early doing anything, but I like my sleep to start at around 10:30 or earlier.
10:30 is middle of the night.
I used to be an early bird, but since I turned 50, the 6 o'clock alarm, that's pretty rough these days, Chris. Yeah. I'm just saying what the future might hold.
That's useful information. 8 years to go, and then I'm going to be changing my alarm clock.
Every week we share the podcast over on Instagram. You get to choose the Instagram story music, Chris. No pressure. We're not judgy. What's it going to be?
Oh no, I should have put some thought into this.
Did you listen to anything when you were on the Pennine Way?
No, just the birds and the hail hitting my forehead. How about Welcome to the Jungle by
Classic
Roses? Something a little bit boom and upbeat.
Yes, turn that volume up and don't let iPhone turn it down.
That is in. We'll make that happen. Fantastic. Well, thanks for your time today, Chris.
Pleasure.
Really inspiring. Yeah, hopefully there's people out there listening, thinking, changing their mindset from can't to can. I think it's been a big help.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. Thank you, Chris. Good luck with the recovery.
Me.
Oh, it was our absolute joy. Good luck. We'll look forward to. So it's Chester Marathon. We'll get our pom-poms out. Thank you. Have a good day. Good luck with the recovery. Don't overdo it. Don't overdo it.
Steady.
Steady, Eddie. See you soon. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye. Thanks. Bye. Well, I really enjoyed that, Eddie. All the details to going out for a run on a full stomach. We left the YHA on Sunday morning with full stomach. It wasn't very pleasant. So, yeah, I salute you, Chris. Making his own gels too. You know, all those details that make for a super strong athlete and a successful summer spine race. Marathon as a 10-year-old too. Yeah, if ever there's a sign what was to come, there it was. Yeah. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Fenix Light, for sponsoring our Strava Club and Tales from the Trails. Don't forget, patrons can enjoy 10% off over at phenixlight.co.uk. First up on the Strava Club is Warren Simmons. Peak District Ultra Challenge for Warren. Yeah, smashed it. Seconds under 15 hours. Yeah. Oh my goodness, he would have been looking at his watch as those as the seconds passed. Yeah, awesome job, Warren. Yeah, 69.3 miles for the week with the longest run, 65.2 total vert. 6,893. Next up is Rob Drag. Solid week, Rob. Yeah, workouts, long run, and easy miles. Sensational. Total distance for the week, 60.3 with the longest run of 16 miles and 2,172 feet of vert. Next up is Emily Ritalik. Emily, oh, this looks sensational. She had 3 days of fun on the Cumbrian Way. Love that. I've got some history with Emily, actually.
Is this podcast? Can you share this?
We can. Dragon's Back Race 10, mate. Also.
Oh my God, what did you do? I'm cold, Emily.
Oi, 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 Eddie. Also, we both had a Borrowdale YHA pit stop on Saturday and we saw each other. I feel like a massive idiot, but because we weren't 100% sure if we knew each other, we did that classic British thing and just kept ourselves to ourselves. You know, next time if I see a listener or someone I think I know, I'm just going to go in hot, Eddie. Going for a sweaty.
Oh my God, we're going to get cancelled. That's how the podcast will finish.
But really sorry, Emily. Yeah.
Oh, I wouldn't have a problem. I would go in hot and just go, yeah. Where do I know
with
you
Dragon's
from?
Back Race, people do, you obviously occupy the same race, but you occupy in kind of slightly different time zones.
Spaces. Yeah, I get that. So
in my defense. But yeah, either way, total mileage for the week, 86.8 miles, 27.5 longest run, and smashed it, 17,575 feet of vert. Should we do a double heavy flex this week?
Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely is 17,000 feet. Wow, that is a heavy flex. But we have some results from the guys over at Ultra Trails, Yorkshire Wolds, where 54K with 4,100 feet of vert. Yeah, 125 people started, and it was great to hear from the Ultra Trails team that half of the runners popped their ultra running cherry that day. First female was Chrissy Dover in a time of 5 hours, 25 minutes and 32 seconds. That was her second first place finish in a row with Ultra Trails. Her last one was her first ever ultra marathon. Where do you go from there?
Smoking fast too.
I know, yeah, it's smoking fast. First overall was Stephen Kirk in a time of 4 hours, 39 minutes and 45 seconds. And navigation was never a problem for Stephen because he helped tape 30 kilometers of the route for Grant 2 days previously. Yeah. I think that should get this week's heavy flex. Also, the pics look awesome. Loads of smiles on the trails. Also, patrons can receive 10% off purchases on their online shop. So if you're a fan of Varga caps and beanies, yeah, it's well worth popping over to ultratrails.co.uk. Kudos to all our Strava Club members. And if you would like to be with a chance of a random shout out, then yeah, pop over to Strava and join our club. Tales from the Trails.
West Island Way 2024. I was absolutely chuffed when my entry was accepted for the West Highland Way race all those months ago as part of 300 warriors about to take on one of the UK's most iconic trail races. Having completed a few 50Ks, 50 milers and other mountain races, it was time to step up to the big one. 95 miles and 14,000 feet of elevation. Never having a crew before and needing a co-runner from the 50 miles mark, I put a call out on the Facebook page and got an offer from a team, a runner from Germany and an organisational marvel from Edinburgh to do the logistics. Couldn't believe they were willing to put so much into a stranger. Training was going well until about 10 weeks to race day, which is generally when I'd be grinding out some big miles. So big mileage week followed by 2 weeks of doing long office hours. I was ready to hit the trails again. My body said no. Long story short, a sciatic nerve issue resulted in hamstring and calf pain so much I could barely walk the dog in the morning. Oh, the worst. This went on until about 2 weeks before race day. So do I go to the start line? Of course I did. Expecting about a 10% chance of finishing, but giving it a go. Truly didn't know if I could make it 2 miles, never mind 95. Oh, the jeopardy. Sitting here on Monday morning, looking at the famous West Highland Way goblet, having completed in 30 hours, 26 minutes, 2 night shirts.
Shifts.
I think they mean shifts, but let's keep that in because I prefer 2 night shirts. In fact, I'm going to call the nighttime shift now the night shirt. 2 night shirts and some of the most beautiful Glencoe, sideways rain and wind, and brutal terrain, Loch Lomond Bonnie Banks, they are not. I can't quite believe I did it. Thanks to my crew, Ava and Nikki, who are now lifelong friends, to the physios, to all the volunteers, and of course my superly supportive wife, and 3 boys, all of which my dreams could not have become a reality without their love. P.S. Big shout out to the guy who came in with 4 minutes to spare to a standing ovation from at least 500 people, racers and crew ready for the presentation. Bravo. Clapping emoji, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to clap you. Brian Leach from Dunbar, East Lothian. I think Brian deserves a shout out on Tales from the Trails, but I also think his crew, Ava and Nikki, who helped a stranger. Karma is coming right back at you two, because that is a wonderful way to give up your time and love to help somebody else achieve their dreams.
I love that about the West Highland Way race. I've never towed the line, but I know crew are an integral part of that race.
Thanks again, Fenix Light, for sponsoring Deals from the Trails. We love sharing your Tales from the Trails. Keep them coming. Lakeland 100 coming up. Lots of races coming up now. Our Tales from the Trails box is going to be overflowing with race adventures and training. We can't wait to hear them. Hello, teaandtrails.com.
We don't have any hot 5-star reviews this week. The cupboards are empty over Apple. I'm sure there's stuff over at Spotify, Eddie.
I had a little look, Gary. I had a little look. Couldn't work it out. I did find a few on Audible, but they were in 2022. And to be honest, I wasn't going to go back and see if we'd ever read them out. But big love if you have left them on Audible for us. But we have had a special request, Gary, for something for you to do. This has come via Instagram, and I thought I kind of like the reviews. This is a good place to read it out.
Okay.
Bear with me, okay? Hi, Eddie. Huge fan and an OG listener. Love an OG listener. Hear me out on this one. You'll love it. A few months ago, you mentioned giving Gary away for a prize. I think I mentioned a cinema date. Not that I watch, wink, wink, long nose emoji, but you know Babe Station. No, I don't know Babe Station. I'm not going to read this guy out. Who do you think I am? A married mother of 3. We could get Gary on the beds. He could wear his 2-inch race shorts and a pair of vapor flies. He could be rubbing Pure Sport cream into his, I'm not going to say what, but...
Close your eyes, listeners.
Best of all, close your eyes, imagine this. Best of all, people can phone up and Gary can relay some workout details in his sexy voice. 2 times 4 minutes at 10k pace.
Heavy flex.
Heavy flex. Sensational.
You are sensational.
We can charge a premium. There's a lot of thought gone into this. £1.50 per minute and give the money to charity.
I'll do it for charity.
Awesome. Do it for charity. What to call it? I don't know. Gary Station. This is not a Tales from the Trails, but what a tale it would be. And then he sent it, and then he thought, if she thinks I'm serious. So then he sent another message going, it's just a bit of fun, but it would be great.
Only joking.
Only joking. Oh God, she hasn't replied. Would you be up for it? Babe Station? Do I need to go onto Babe Station and see what this is? Or should I not have that in my... Should I not
in your browser history?
In my browser history. Hey guys, keep those 5-star reviews rolling in. Makes life easier for other runners to find us. Like, share, subscribe, and follow.
Competition time. Yeah, first up, we need to announce our Protein Rebel winners. And if you remember, you had to comment over on YouTube with the word Heavy Flex, and everybody else who was a legend Patreon above, they went into a random draw too. YouTube winner is Helen J2171. I've reached out to you, Helen, via YouTube. All I need is your email address and your address and your consent to pass it over to the guys over at Protein Rebel. Next up, Patreon legend Stuart Secker. Yeah, same for you, Stuart. Reached out. We just need to know that you're happy with us, passing your deets to the team. Awesome team over at Protein Rebel. Thanks everyone who entered, and thanks to Protein Rebel for supporting June's competition. And for the month of July, our awesome friends and sponsors, Fenix Light, are providing the prizes. We have 2 Fenix HM65R-T version 2s to give away. Same as usual. 1 for everybody else, and then 1 for our legend patrons and above. I did a test, very nerdy of me. I turned it on at the 400 lumen setting, and I basically left it all day. States on their page, on their website, 12 hours. I got 13 hours light.
Oh, I love an overperformer.
Aim low, but
That's
over
one of
deliver.
our life mottos, isn't it? But I'm not sure over deliver either.
But this is awesome because Lakeland 100, I might actually try it with the full 1600 lumen because sundown Lakeland 100, oh my goodness, maybe about 9 o'clock, sun up about 6. So I don't actually
do
need
it. Do it. I like a big beam. Personally, I like being able to see. Also, when you're tired, you want to be able to know that you've got options, don't you?
But 400, that
was
is
it good?
enough.
Was it strong? Yeah. Was that?
Well, because it's sunshine, pretty much. I'll go to bed when it's light outside. But it lasted that. But I remember last year.
But you're going to want
100.
something stronger on 13 Valleys anyway, aren't you? So it'll be interesting to see.
Well, that is a very good point because there'll be a lot less sunlight on the 13
There'll be a lot less
valleys.
and on a technical trails, you want more light. Have you told people? I wasn't listening what you were saying, but have you told people how to
Well, there is a post over on Facebook, but basically you need to be a member of the Tea and Trails Facebook group. You need to like or follow the Fenix Light UK Facebook page and give the post a like too. Winners, 2 winners picked at random end of July.
Well, we've talked quite a lot in the podcast about your injury, and then I see super simple fully bridge to horsewater and back. The route is super simple, but do you think I think you need to be healing?
I'm going to suck it and see. But no ego attached to this. I'll go over. I'll gauge it. If I'm feeling like this on Friday, then I will not go over. But if I'm feeling okay, I might just go over and have a walk. The guys are going to do 2 hours one direction, turn around and come back. Loosey-goosey. I can run. I'm super grateful I can run. I'm not planning on doing any workouts.
No, no breathing.
No gym.
Well, you want it to heal.
Yeah.
GPs, Chris, when you're listening, you're going to slip into Gary's DMs. It's the sort of thing that you do need to rest. It's not like something that, if you broke your fingers and they were taped up and you'd be like, well, I can still run. I can do all my runs because I'm not using my fingers. But every time you move, if it is broken, then, you're not helping the healing. And sometimes you need to rest in order for the body to know that the energy has to go into the healing. And that's one of the hardest things to learn. You see, he's not even listening. He's just...
No, I am 100%. But I'm a bit of emotional low at the moment. So I know.
I hear you. But you need to take control of that emotion and rest in order for the body to go, oh, we're not using the energy now for that running. We can use it to heal. And you've done the training. You have to be strong now. You've got to be strong to that monkey. You've done the training, the money's in the back, and the rest is what is going to get you to the
I need to be strong with the Pringles and the M&Ms and the beer. That's what, if I'm not running so much.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Just take your hand, have the same conversation with Bryn. Take your hand out of the cookie jar, have some standards, have some integrity. Chop up an apple.
There's only so many times you can make an apple.
Oh, I know. It's so depressing, isn't it? Don't you do that? Anyone who's got kids and goes, if you're hungry, you can have an apple. Would we ever go, I'm really hungry?
Yummy. I'm drinking lots of tea, though, anytime I get that little
yes, I do the same.
cup of tea. But I looked at the last time I did it, like I said, I've gone back to 2017. I've even went on Garmin and, it basically has a heat map for the speed that you're running. So I can see the blue bit where I jumped over the wall to have a wee. So I know exactly
how deep
where it
have you
happened.
gone into this? Oh my gosh.
Well, yeah, it mustn't have been as bad because I didn't miss a beat. I did a fast 10K, fast for me. I did a fast 10K the week after. All the workouts.
Yeah, and you couldn't do that today. You wouldn't be able to run fast today.
The thought of doing the 5-5, because this was the session for the week, 5-5, 2 times 5, 2 times 4, 2 times 3, 2 times 1 on a treadmill.
Yeah.
We'll see how that week. We'll see how the week goes. Sunday, see my Strava. You won't see it, will you? You're not,
I didn't even know about this, but what a delight it was because of my Rawdogging. Everything was fresh rather than I already knew all this. But then I felt bad because you'd been suffering and I hadn't known. And I felt like I should have sent you good messages.
I want to project it. It's sounds like sandbagging, doesn't it? We've all got stuff on our plate, Eddie.
Yes.
My goodness me. Yeah, so we'll see Strava. If I run...
We all know he's going to, don't we? I just gave him the wisest, really deep, lots of experience. This is what you need to do a couple of weeks out. And he went, my 4th child.
We'll see.
Yes, mum. Yes,
what about
mum.
yourself?
Right.
What about you?
There is nothing. So, as I said, Next week I'm gonna get back. Have I been saying that for about 2 months?
Call it a comeback.
Call it a comeback. No, it was always going to be. I had about 7 weeks from Northern Traverse, the recovery, and then I had about 6 or 7 weeks where I did a lot of training. Looking back now, it was like 16 to 20 hours a week worth of running and strength training. So I've had a good little block. I was very tired at the end of that. Everything was starting to ache and hurt running downhill. That's always my sign. Like, because I was thinking about this, because you and I often run very similar vert, but mine has all got to come downhill as well. And my downhill is hard downhill. It's steep and it's rough.
See, I'll do like about 5,000 or 6,000 feet and there's no downhill with the treadmill.
Yeah, that's really good. And actually, if I was going long term, keeping up that vert, I would be like, I need to do more on the treadmill. But then when you live in the mountains, the summertime. But anyway, I'm switching anyway because my next race is really runnable. My next 2 races are really runnable. So I'm going to switch from vert to running. So I got another week with a lot of movement and transitional period. So and a lot of driving. My God, driving is so bad for a runner's body. Everything about it. Even my Achilles hurts after I've had the foot on the accelerator for 18 hours. So I just give myself some grace this week and Gary, if I can do it. And I know, but I don't have a race in 2 weeks. It's fair. So I've just been jogging around and I'm just going to carry on jogging around. English trails. Oh my God. You know, I often like mock you because I go, you ran 4 or 5 miles with Rex and then, you know, all these easy miles. Actually, when I've been running with the dogs, you come home and you're like, I don't feel like I've been for a run. It's just lovely.
Yeah.
And you just jog around. There's no like, come away 100 feet of vert. I was only walking though. And I think that's going to be a big shock in the next few weeks of like, there's going to be no walking. I'm actually going to have to maintain. Run. But I'm quite looking forward to that. So yeah, the only downside in this couple of weeks downtime is Lindy, because normally Lindy has 2,000 meters a day of climbing up and down and rampaging around the mountains and a little 3-4 mile jog. She's like,
so how much exercise do you think she gets every day?
On a class, 2 to 3 hours normally a day. If anyone's got a GSP or that sort of dog, that's what they need. They need to move. It's like their job. They need to move. So today she has had, I ran her for an hour this morning and then we had a 2-hour walk with the kids, but she's still outside. They're playing cricket and she's fetching. She is like, I wish I had some of that. But she, once we're a little bit more in the middle of nowhere, she'll be back to heavy exercise, but maybe a bit of downtime. Tarky, my older dog, who's 10 now, she's still running. She can run for 3 hours, which is incredible for a 10-year-old dog. But I didn't give her a lot of downtime, and she is quite stiff sometimes now. So, Lindy, I'm aware that you have to be a bit careful sometimes with your dog. So, as much as I love her all the time. So I'm like, it's good for you, Lindy. She's like, no, I need to run. Anyway, but all our focus is going on you, Gary, getting better, healing.
Great for Gary.
I'm gonna when I'm sitting in the garden, totally raw dogged. What I'm gonna think of is your rib, babe, your
rib. On the bed, naked, when my vapor flies on.
I thought you were talking about me.
That was an 8 out of 10.
This podcast has taken. I was literally sat back from the mic and went, oh no, oh God, this is
too much.
I think actually he said some shorts. You've taken Babe Station. You've obviously taken it one step too far. Oh, now it hurts. Definitely no. If you can't laugh at that, you can't do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks all so much for sticking with us to the end. Let's give this episode a share. Let's go. Let's do it. Tell your mates. That's how we grow. Thanks to Precision Fuel Hydration, X-Miles, Fenix Light, and Protein Rebel for sponsoring this week's show. Remember the customer discount codes T15 for Protein Rebel and all caps lock T24 for Precision Fuel Hydration. Now, Precision Fuel Hydration, if you're thinking of using them for Lakeland 100, Lakeland 50, any races in the next 3-4 weeks, their ordering time is super quick. Normally, you order and then they're like, it's being shipped, it's coming. But I would just say, order now if you've got a race in 2 or 3 weeks, and then I'm
going to buy it all. Get in quick.
Get in quick if you want those salt tabs, and start thinking now. We haven't had a ton of hot weather, so be prepared that we could have a freakish hot day. So be prepared. If you're going to do a little bit of heat training, you've still probably got time for a couple of sweaty sessions, but also have a heat plan. Think about those electrolytes and those salts. Thanks to all our partners and patrons too. Couldn't do this without you and your ongoing support.
Be kind to future self, breathe and believe. Progress, not perfection. Keep your shield high and please feel like a champ and eat to the bitter end. Hope you all have a great weekend, whatever you're up to, and try and stay on your feet. Don't be like me and Robbo. My name is Gary Thwaites.
And I'm Eddie Sutton.
And that was episode 79 of the Tea and Trails podcast.